We start off in Oriana with the moon setting the mood over the hotel, but inside, Epsilon is absolutely losing her marbles, crashing out because she just realized Lord Shadow is back, hitting the most extra instinctive pose known to man to process the shock.
Alpha is sitting there sipping tea with infinite aura, basically telling Epsilon to touch grass and calm down, insisting that their boss is playing 4D chess and isn't just winging it, claiming he's already accomplished his mission. Epsilon snaps back with another pose, screaming about where he is, until Beta walks in wearing a tight swimsuit that she claims is battle gear, looking totally out of place. Alpha questions the fit with a deadpan stare, while Epsilon sweats, but Beta is proud of her Tanaka-san lore, bouncing all over the place with zero shame. Alpha just nods along like, sure, whatever you say, while Epsilon stays slumped in disbelief. Alpha updates the squad that Eta is researching tech, and Zeta is currently with Shadow.
Which shocks Epsilon, since Zeta usually ghosts them. But then Alpha locks in to ask about the other thing, and Beta confirms the guest is stable. Cut to Akane waking up, looking absolutely cooked and confused about her spawn point, realizing she definitely isn't in her usual map. She spots a book she can't read and starts spiraling as memories of the Arcadia disaster hit her like a truck. Recalling the shadowy figure that stopped her, she realizes Minoru is actually alive and standing on business, crying tears of relief that her boy made it, before immediately feeling the guilt of her own killstreak. She prays to the timeline, vowing to wait for him and atone for her sins until the very end.
Meanwhile, back at Midgar Academy, the sun is shining, but the vibes are rancid because Skell is screaming at Sid for ghosting them. He's raging about fishing debts, and Poe is mad about missed chances to flirt, while Sid hits them with the most NPC excuse ever about a trip.
The boys are jealous, screaming about his potential riz, and Skell accuses him of going to Oriana, which actually makes Sid look up from his book. Skell starts yapping about Rose becoming a tyrant, which makes Sid sweat nervously, as they explain she allegedly killed her dad and seized the throne. Skell claims she's a demon summoner, but Sid is hallucinating a dramatic confrontation with her, imagining her as a queen of darkness and absolutely glazing her new villain aura. He thinks they'll get along perfectly now, but Poe kills the vibe by mentioning Shadow Garden is kidnapping students. Skell is shaking in his boots about people disappearing, but Poe laughs it off like it's nothing.
Skell asks if Sid studied for finals, then immediately caps about getting serious tomorrow. Poe joins the delusion, and Sid stays silent before they all agree to fail together with maximum confidence. Suddenly, Sid realizes he actually forgot the test, and his grades are about to get cooked, slumping in his dorm later that night. He's panicked because he spent too much time RPing as Shadow, trying to calculate the perfect mob score, so he decides to cheat using hyperspeed clairvoyance because he has zero integrity. Out of nowhere, a raw fish falls on his book, and we see Zeta perched on the window like a loot goblin. She dumps a sack of mackerel on his floor for brain food, and Sid greets her like this is normal behavior. She flexes her height growth and shows off her catch, trying to feed him raw fish, but Sid is just like, cool story, bro. Zeta starts rubbing her face on his used clothes like she's down bad. Sid sighs at the cat behavior, and then she starts rolling around in his bed, wagging her tail. Sid tells her to stop marking her territory, so she dives under the bed to hide in the shadows.
From the darkness, she locks in and gets serious, reporting on the cult's movements and the location of a sealed arm. Sid smiles, remembering she loves playing spy in tight spaces, while Zeta predicts a fifth victim is coming soon. She asks for the purpose of the enemy's plan, and Sid drops some vague Chuunibyou line about eternal darkness, just to sound cool.
Zeta, who is glazing him at a molecular level, thinks he knows everything and bows, vowing to solve the mystery for him. Cut to Claire's room, where she is absolutely seething, holding a literal chain and ready to crash out. She is furious Sid broke his promise, screaming that she's going to put a collar on him next time. She smiles like a yandere villain plotting to drag him home. But then her cursed hand starts burning. She's in pain, wondering why the seal is acting up and calling out to Aurora, who is ghosting her. She checks her research notes, trying to connect the dots between her hand and Diabolos. Suddenly, the room goes silent, and she hears a whisper from the void. Reality literally shatters like glass, and Claire realizes she's in a trap.
An assassin tries to backstab her from the blind spot, but Claire has max stats. She reacts instantly, spins around, and punches the dude into the next dimension. He drops, the illusion breaks apart, and Claire is left confused in the rubble. She notices her room is back to normal, steps into the hallway, and realizes the whole school is empty.
She feels a presence behind her, and Aurora finally shows up, looking sad. Claire turns to face her and demands answers immediately, screaming about why she has this cursed seal. Aurora apologizes, but says she can't explain because Claire is bait for him. Claire gets offended at the idea of protecting anyone, while Aurora admits she's jealous of her position.
The hallway shifts dimensions, and Claire runs while Aurora guides her, fading away with a cryptic message about owing him a favor. Back in class, Alexia shows up with a fake smile that screams danger. Skell and Poe instantly sell Sid out to save their own skins. Sid is staring at a butterfly like a lobotomized NPC, so Alexia grabs him by the collar and drags him out of class. She walks him down the hall, and Sid tries to deflect by talking about dead bodies because he has zero social awareness. Alexia drops the smile and gets serious, telling him to stay calm. She reveals Claire is missing. They found a collar in her room, and she's probably been kidnapped. Sid's face melts in horror because he has to deal with this plot line again. We start off in the dorms, where Alexia is playing detective in Claire's room, but the place is empty, so she grills Sid, who walks in looking like the default character in a free-to-play game. Sid is literally counting dust particles on the ceiling to avoid the conversation, but when Alexia presses him, he fakes a panic attack, so cringe it deserves an Oscar. While Alexia imagines his sister trapped in some dark fantasy bondage situation. Outside, Sid drops the act and hits her with the "she'll be back" trust. But Alexia is side-eyeing him hard because his lack of concern is giving major red flags. Back inside, Alexia finds a collar and a notebook, and Sid's soul violently leaves his body because he recognizes the ancient runes as his sister's embarrassing Chuunibyou fanfiction. He is absolutely cooked, sweating buckets as he realizes his sister is just on a cringe self-discovery arc to roleplay her edgiest fantasies. So he gaslights Alexia into thinking everything is fine to protect the family reputation. Sid hits the exit with a saintly smile, leaving Alexia to glaze his sibling bond, completely misinterpreting his apathy for some deep connection she wishes she had with her own sister. Cut to Sid camping in the woods like he's on a cozy stream, grilling a fish and vibing.
until he senses a disturbance in the force. It's Delta, launching herself at him at Mach speed for a tackle hug, yapping about hunting jaguars, while Sid desperately tries to keep the volume down so he doesn't get caught. She goes full chibi mode, begging for head pats, and despite claiming she was quiet, she's screaming. So Sid just accepts his fate and gives her the validation she craves. Then this absolute goblin sticks out her tongue to reveal she was storing a high-value gemstone in her mouth for safekeeping, and Sid realizes the spit-covered rock is actually massive stalks. He pats her again for the loot, but then Delta spots the grilled mackerel intended for Zeta and crashes out with hunger, inhaling the fish whole before Sid can even explain it wasn't for her. She's in food heaven, but the vibes turn rancid instantly when Zeta pulls up, absolutely fuming that her gift for Shadow got eaten by the stupid dog. It turns into a screaming match of bitch cat versus stupid dog, while Sid stands there like an awkward dad trying to mediate, but they ignore him and choose violence. They literally nuke the campsite, sending Sid blasting off again like Team Rocket, while he calmly flashbacks to Alpha traumatizing them for destroying property, realizing these two are about to wreck everything. Sid decides to spectate from the bushes because interrupting a 1 versus 1 is rude, while Delta hunts for Zeta, who pulls a ninja vanish move to assert dominance. Zeta starts spamming ranged attacks, forcing Delta to dodge for her life, while slicing up trees, proving she's not just yapping about discipline. Delta flips around like a feral beast trying to find her target, and Sid is actually impressed, noting that Zeta stole some moves from the Blood Queen, giving her major aura points. Sid narrates that Zeta has max stats in talent, but 0 points in attention span, which is why she gets bored mid-fight and turns into mist just to troll Delta. Delta is tweaking because Zeta keeps taunting her with tail flicks, so Zeta decides to stop playing with her food and locks in for real. She drops her ult, 1,000 blades, raining down infinite swords from the sky to turn Delta into a pincushion, absolutely destroying the terrain. Delta is eating dirt, getting battered by the combo, but instead of folding, she starts grinning like a maniac because she loves the pain. Sid watches from the nosebleeds, thinking Zeta has the W, but Delta activates her crash-out mode, screaming through the debris. She complains about her ears hurting, admits she was holding back to avoid Alpha's wrath. Then summons a massive black slime iron slab because she's done playing nice. Delta goes full berserker, wielding a weapon too big to be called a sword, and stands on business, swinging it with enough force to delete the zip code. The forest is flattened. Zeta is sweating bullets, realizing she almost got one-shotted by raw strength, and Delta is laughing like a villain ready for round 2. Sid is floating in the sky analyzing the iron slab aesthetic, wondering how this ends, knowing usually Alpha has to step in before they destroy the map. But Zeta realizes she has 0 motion against that brute force and tactically retreats, leaving Delta screaming, while Sid spots Alexia running toward the noise and decides to cook up a new scenario. Cut to Alexia sprinting past her guards, who are begging her not to feed, but she refuses to be an NPC and pushes forward to find the culprit. They reach the clearing and jaws drop because the entire forest has been deforested in seconds. Alexia inspects the fresh blood, proving high-level players were just here. But then a guard spots a silhouette and wets himself. Shadow is perched on the high ground for maximum aura, holding a leaf and yapping philosophically about life just to look mysterious in front of the moon. Alexia tries to press him about the crimes, but Shadow hits her with the "we live in different worlds" line and speed blitzes her so fast she doesn't even realize he took her sword until it's too late. He drops some cryptic bars about light and dark,
refuses to elaborate, and Ghost exits, leaving Alexia screaming for answers. Alexia turns around to find her entire squad laid out unconscious, realizing the skill gap is actually a canyon. But instead of being salty, she catches feelings about his sadness because she loves a broken bad boy.
The video ends here, but the story isn't over yet. Like the video if you're ready for the next part.